Hey guys, so I want to fill you in on an interview that I had with Andre Jackson about 2 hours ago. He is the man who's accused of killing little Josue Flores 3 years ago east of downtown as he was walking home from school. If you're not familiar with the backstory, here's basically what happened. He was arrested shortly after the murder. He was seen in a video running from the area. That's what police used in that original arrest. They also had said that they had some DNA evidence with them as well. At that time, that DNA evidence, it turned out, was not enough for prosecutors to continue with the case. So Andre Jackson was eventually released. However, in the last week, he was arrested once again, and he is behind bars accused of Josue Flores' murder once again. So anyway, I want to get to the interview. Let me tell you about how it's set up. So it was during visitation today. So what you have to do when you show up for visitation is you have to go up to the jailhouse and you have to wait for a very long time until about 3:30 is when they start allowing visitors up into the areas on the different floors of the jailhouse to go meet with some of these inmates. He is on the second floor, so I put on my piece of paper who I was going to meet, who I was, and then I had to leave all of my property in a locker down on the first floor. So you won't be seeing any video. I didn't get to take any notes. You're not going to hear his voice or anything, but what I'm basically going to do is summarize what he told me during our discussion. So anyway, I'm led up there into a separate cell, so he apparently is being held separate from the other inmates who were speaking with their families. So he and I were communicating through an attorney-inmate cell through a glass window, and he said several things. So the bottom line from our conversation is he is still proclaiming his innocence in all of this. He says he did not kill little Josue Flores. He says he does not know who did it. He says that he had absolutely no motive to kill him. You'll remember that one of the things that connected Andre Jackson to the scene was the location where he lived. He was homeless at the time, living at the Salvation Army down there in downtown. He tells me that police were desperate to make an arrest in this case. They did get a lot of pushback from the community when Andre Jackson was originally released. Jackson says that because of that, they chose to go ahead and rearrest him a second time. He's telling me that there was no blood found on his clothing. He said he didn't have any blood on his clothing at the time. He said the police did not have any DNA evidence originally, and he's saying that whatever DNA evidence that they have right now, which we don't know what that is, they do claim that they have some. He's telling me that whatever they have right now must have been planted within the last year or so that they've had his clothing. He said he asked his attorney to petition for the return of that clothing. He said that never happened. It stayed in police custody the entire time, and that's when he claims that it may have been tampered with at some point. He also gave me something when I was leaving. So there's a little slot at the bottom of the attorney-inmate cell that we were in, and in that slot you can pass through paperwork, I guess, so that attorneys can get their clients to sign things and stuff. And this is what he gave me. This is the piece of paper right here, and it's not, you know, really in sentence form. It's kind of just different ideas that he had. He knew that I was coming, so these were some things that he wanted to talk about during our conversation. Basically, he's upset with the system. He's saying that he doesn't feel that a grand jury should be able to indict an individual without having a proper motive first. He's saying that he has received no support from the black community in all of this. He says the black community has lost its political power, and in any other case, they would certainly have been behind it, but he's saying that his arrest was somehow influenced by Hispanic leaders in the community. And then he goes on, number 3, it talks about some of the points that he was making about tampering with evidence. I did ask Andre Jackson at the end of our discussion who he thought might have killed Josue Flores, if he had any ideas. He told me that he's been investigating this for a long time. He spent all of his time in the last year looking into this, trying to figure out a person behind it other than himself. and he says that he believes it could be a Mexican drug cartel. Of course, there has been no indication that that was the case. He has been the only suspect in this case up to this point who was arrested. So again, he's saying that he had nothing to do with it. So I told him that we would meet again. He agreed to it, and I guess we'll fill you in on our next meeting. Until then, I'll say goodbye.